So this is my first look at the Lotus changes. These were like leaked, I think, or like at least put on Twitter by someone called Floxay, who I'll put the original post in the description. But we're going to look at these changes. Generally, I think the consensus is that these are defense-sided changes. I have some different opinions on that stuff, but we'll look at the changes now. So the first big change is this big wall. This wall, I'm assuming as well that this box is actually moved. So it's like moved over to here. We'll go over that in a minute. But this wall essentially does two things. The first thing it does is it allows defense side players to play on the elevation here. So a chamber could have a TP over here, like in bend, and play on the top and get one and then TP away. Very, very possible. It's going to be a nice mix-up angle for some players to use. And then otherwise, I think it has been used to close the gap, because there was usually like an area you could play behind the box. I don't think that exists with this wall. And we'll have a look as well. I'm pretty sure I should have had a look when I actually looked at the video. But yeah, this wall I don't think has a gap that you can use there. So there isn't like an extra angle to clear. So it actually has eliminated an angle for defense. It was possible, but it has made a better one. So it's not the end of the world. That was meant to be a person. So it's not the end of the world. But the reason why that they've done it is because this corner needs to exist. The reason why this corner needs to exist is because this corner here is really, really attack-sided if they decided to move out the space like this. Because you'll notice that the distance between this corner and what Bend have, so they have like a really smaller, they have a much smaller distance. It would be better for attackers to have this sort of angle, because they can like slow walk. They can do anything they want to really with this angle. They're going to have peaks advantage with this angle. So I think they need to move out this corner like they did to make sure that that doesn't happen. So next we're going to look at the box where it's moved to. So the box is moved here, and this reminds me quite a bit of Split on B, where you have like this. It's not a tall box, but it's just a normal box. Usually on Split, it's a tall box, surrounded by some smaller boxes. But on this, it's just a jump, basically three angles that you can use to get kills. Basically, Judge sitting here would be quite strong. And I also do think and also any potential crossfires as well. As this is a 50-50 angle outside of C main, so you come out C main and you have both angles to look at. Both angles can fight at you at the same time. I am skeptical though, because I do think that this is actually wide enough so someone can stand here and wallbang this. So I actually don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to wallbang this too, and they'll definitely be able to see this one. So I'm not 100% sure if it's actually going to do anything. It just is going to add to the way attackers are going to clear the site basically. I also think that it's going to create problems on retake. So on retake, the attackers can just sit on this box, and there's chance that, obviously I haven't not played it in game, so I can't tell if there's like these angles that I'm going to talk about. But the one angle that I'm thinking about is sitting on the edge of this box with an operator. If an attacker does that, they can see, I think, the right side of CT's like archway. So that means that they can up into CT. Obviously, there is like the elevation, so it's not the most massive thing, but it is quite scary to give an up a deep angle for a retake like that. It might not work out in practice because of the double angle it has, and people can high-low you and things like that. So it might not work out in practice, but I do think it's maybe scary. There is also the opportunity as well that maybe over here as well on like this sort of edge of the box, you can also see the left side of CT, which can be a nice off angle. But you also need teammates to sort of support that. So it may not be as problematic as what this could be. I don't 100% know if it is going to be problematic. But I do think that's more of an attack-sided change. This sort of big area. The reason why this big area is more of a attack-sided change, if I could back over here, is that the Killjoy mollies, for instance, won't be able to cover all of this space because they've added way too much space over here. So it actually makes it harder for like trap plays to exist. Like for instance, like the reason why Killjoy is really strong on B site on Ascent, for instance, is because lane is really, really small, and she can molly that really, really well. I don't understand what she's going to do here. And it might move her away from playing Lotus, and we might see more, for instance, Chamber sitting on this angle, and has like these opportunities to play there. Chamber's not terrible in this map either, so. And Cypher also has opportunities where his trips obviously got bigger range, so maybe he can trip across here as well, and it'd be fine. So maybe Killjoy is going to move away because less trap players are available on C. But I could be wrong. There could be some ones that I can't see right now without being in game. I also think like things like Raisnade inherently has got worse because of the map getting bigger. But that's generally like a good rule of thumb that when Raze can't use her nade to a really strong effect because of the way the map has gotten bigger, then it can be really detrimental to her. So she can't use trap players as easily. She can't use info nades as easily because they can get out of the way easier because there's more space for them to maneuver around the nade. Bear in mind, like, actually, I won't talk about that stuff just because I hit the scope of the video. I think I can talk about that stuff in another video to do with Raze. So then we go over here. So then we got a ramp. So there used to be like just a steep ramp here, but now there's a double ramp. So don't really know 100% what this does. I'm pretty sure it just is a way to like give this player a bit more of a chance in this fight versus attackers, potentially. But I'm not sure exactly how much it gives. I also don't know 100% if players standing on here are visible from Mound, so outside C main. I don't know 100% if they're visible or not. There might be, so it means that this might be actually a nerf to defenders, but I don't 100% know. I don't think they can, but it's something to think about, I think. Otherwise, I think this angle is actually a bit more favourable for defence now. Tiny bit more favourable, just because the height elevation can mean like you can kind of be anywhere on this ramp in an off angle as well. So there is like the element of having a slight height elevation or like a full one from up here. So I do think generally this is like a defense-sided sort of change. I actually think this is probably one of the better ones for Seaside that may be a bit underrated. They cleaned up the geometry of the walls, I'm assuming, as well, so maybe less due to wall bounce unpredictably and stuff like that. Oh wait, I should check the wall here. So yeah, it's completely flush, so they did get rid of this like extra angle. So that's actually an attack side buff that they got rid of that extra angle. Because now they don't have to clear two angles there. Okay, and then I've just skipped over something. Whoops. So then there's this angle, so this new like wall here. So I'm assuming they're gonna get rid of this front part, and they're gonna put a corner here, and then they're gonna carry it on this way. And I'm assuming this big triangle is what this looks like hitbox wise. So this would just be like rubble on the top, but it looks like this hitbox wise to like slide your characters off it. That's what I'm assuming that this is. It's just the rubble. So it's gonna look like a broken wall like this. All the way across, but it's going to have like this little pocket here, this little corner that it used to have anyway, but it's going to be less extended, so people in this corner will be less safe. So that is definitely a retake buff, so for defenders, to retake the site, because people in this corner is just way less safe than it was. But I actually don't really know 100% what the effects of this wall are going to be. I think it's less good for C site. Like people that are on C site at the start of their end for defenders, I think it's a bit harder to defend from this position now, because you have less like of this wall to work with. Like this face of the wall is worse, but you get better you get two better angles, you get two better positions to play from over here in like certain circumstances. Like this is like a really nice wall to play off if they have over here control, and the other side as well. You have more space to play around. Okay, he's going to look at the ramp first. But you have more space to play around over here on this side. So if they have control of like the back side and you're not visible from this position, like from over here from C main, then this could be a lot safer than what it was. So maybe it's actually more of a buff for defense. I can't quite tell though, 100%. They just cleaned up this ramp as well. I actually think, I mean, that's just like a neutral change maybe, but you could argue maybe it's a very slight change in the attacker's favor because there's less weird elevations to look at. But obviously I think that's more just like a quality of life neutral type change anyway. And then sorry, it went over that really fast. And then we've got this new box. So I think this box is gone just because I think this looks a bit clunky. I have this small box in here and then in between this box and this box. So I think this box is gone. This box is going to be completely gone. And then we're going to have this up here. So the reason why they're doing this is because only agents with elevation, with not elevation, what I'm talking about, verticality can get on here, Jet, Omen, Raze, etc. And now every agent can go on this box. So it's definitely a defense-sided change. I also don't know like where this person can actually see. They might be able to see really far down into where Bend is, especially with the new like changes that they're gonna have with like making it wider. That might mean that this person can actually get like some really good angles onto people coming out C. So this might be like a really nice change that ties the front side of C changes together and makes this angle really, really strong. And there are also obviously 3 elevations or 2 elevations here, but this one is like the same as everywhere else. But there's two new elevations that you can have, minus this one, I guess. So I guess one new elevation in total. But generally, like these are potentially strong to have, just because it forces the enemy to clear a bit more thoroughly. And have maybe there's more chance to get surprised by a different angle, especially this angle early on when you come through C is going to potentially be like an angle that people are going to get a lot of kills on, especially when the change is new. Obviously, as time goes on, people get more aware of it, more ways to counter it, etc. And then we've got the B changes. So this B change, there's going to be a big old box. I'm assuming that they also uses the old box too. So we're going to have this box like this. This box is going to exist, and then I think this box actually just moves over to here. I don't think we're going to keep that box there. Yeah, I actually think this is a fine change. I think this is definitely a attack side change. This box in particular, just because it gives more space to play off on the box over there. Less places for you to die to a nade or a molly. Obviously, the molly can probably cover it fully. But it won't be like you're forced to die to the molly, or you're forced to peek somewhere. Maybe you actually have a bit more space to maneuver and not quite peek and that sort of stuff. So it definitely does help the attackers there. But like for instance as well, like defenders are gonna be a bit less valuable in this sort of like just out of main area, because nades don't fully cover. So people can run this way, they can run this way to get at the nades. There are multiple options. They don't have to like go straight into you. Over here, they can just run into this corner to dodge the nade, or maybe there's like nades you put in here specifically for that, and it can be a bit more of like a guessing game or like a mind game of like where you put your util. So it might actually be, I think this is generally like attack sided, more attack sided now, even though like you do have this extra 50-50 in B. I actually don't think it makes much sense to have a 50-50 in B here. The reason why is because we have a rotation, like attackers have rotation through the breakable door. So, and this angle is completely useless versus that angle. Secondly, as well, generally attackers, like context-wise, when you go B on Lotus, at least in solo queue, you'll go here when you are ecoing mainly, or when you don't have a plan. So, generally in those situations, 50-50 angle versus eco guns. I mean, it's quite good still, but there's a chance like you don't really want to play super close when you are against like eco weapons. So it might be kind of like a bait, really, that you play like a shotgun here, and then all the enemy team have like shotguns or like classics or whatever, and they can just overwhelm you. Obviously it does force them to like use more util to clear though, so they will have to use like maybe a reveal or something to actually clear this space. So maybe I think in general it's probably just about a defense side change, but it's like barely one, and it's like maybe a bit less. It's going to be way less noticeable than I think the C changes are going to be, and even the box change I think is going to be more noticeable with things like when enemies like try and kill you off the plant with like mollies and nades. I think that's actually more noticeable than that 50-50 angle is going to be, personally at least. And so this angle is the last one of the video. This is the last change, and I think that this change is pretty weird. So I think generally it's going to be defense sided for higher lows of play and pro play, simply because they have more, like generally players are going to fight through this door, especially at higher lows. At least from my experience, I think in lower lows they'd be a bit more defensive over here. But that maybe I'm wrong on that. But generally it gives them more angles to like be safe versus. It also gives another angle over here. That means that you can actually fight rubble, I think, like against this wall. So there is like an extra angle that's been added basically for rubble to worry about as well. So I do think that this is like a change that is actually for A, in a sense, for like high reload, where you can just break this door at the start of the round and then you have an extra angle into A, and it was really, really hard for the attackers to really fight for this. Because they then have to walk into a 50-50 angle. But the 50-50 angle isn't really that relevant, I don't think, for defenders to use. I actually think it's more relevant for attackers to use. So in like retakes B, it's really, really nice to have someone flank like they like go through the B link in the event that you need to retake B. But if they already have control of this link, then they can set up like nice 50-50s, so this one player or two player can't really get through, and it delays a lot of time. So I do think like this is like maybe a side grade change, or it might even be an attack side change. It just hinges on whether they can get this space. And I do think like I think in higher elo, it's definitely a defense change, like a definitely defense favored change. Thinking at lower elos, it's going to be a lot more of a struggle to think that this is defense sided change, and this is definitely more of an attack sided change, because I feel like these scenarios that come up that benefit attack come up way more than the scenario that benefits defense. So yeah, that's it for the video. I'll put this in the description so you can go look at it for yourself. But yeah, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.